American woman and her family captured by terrorists in Afghanistan are now free, bringing a 5-year ordeal to an end. Now, President Trump is weighing in, touting the release as a positive moment in our relationship with Pakistan. Welcome to a brand new hour of America's Newsroom, a busy Thursday morning. I'm Sandra Smith.
Good morning, Sandra. How many days have we been sitting here saying tough news today, tough news? Think about Las Vegas last week. This is great news. I'm Bill Hemmer. Good morning. The hostages abducted while hiking in Afghanistan 5 years ago by the Haqqani network, one of the more hardline Taliban factions, eastern Afghanistan. But amid all the jubilation on the release, many details, they are still murky. We're working through this story, learning a little bit by the hour. Lucas Tomlinson fills us in now live at the Pentagon based on what we think we know now. Where did the rescue take place, Lucas? Let's start there.
Well, good morning, Bill. The rescue took place in Pakistan. Caitlin Coleman and her 3 young children, all born in captivity, along with her Canadian husband, Josh Boyle, are now free today after a rescue operation by Pakistani forces based on a tip by the U.S. government. Now, in 2012, Caitlin Coleman and her husband were hiking outside Kabul in a Taliban stronghold. She was 7 months pregnant at the time. The family was held by the Haqqani network, a deadly Taliban offshoot. Now, last night in central Pennsylvania, not far from where Coleman is from, President Trump hinted at the good news.
Something happened today where a country that totally disrespected us called with some very, very important news. And one of my generals came in. They said, you know, I have to tell you, a year ago, they would have never done that. It was a great sign of respect. You'll probably be hearing about it over the next few days.
The family was last seen in a hostage video released last December, pleading for then-President Obama to help them. Don't become another Jimmy Carter, said Caitlin Coleman. And along with their 3 children born in Haqqani captivity, in the video, Caitlin Coleman said that her children had seen their mother defiled. Bill?
3 kids in captivity giving birth. Are there more American hostages? What's next, Lucas?
Well, Bill, there's believed to be 2 American hostages that are still being held with the Haqqani network. Now, last year, Navy SEALs launched a rescue operation in eastern Afghanistan to try to recover an American professor who was teaching at Kabul University. Now, the rescue attempt was not successful because when the SEALs arrived on the target, the hostage, the American professor, was gone. But they did kill 8 Haqqani militants in the process. There's also a Massachusetts man also believed to be held captive by the Haqqanis. But good news today, Bill. Caitlin Coleman, her 3 children, and her Canadian husband are now free after 5 torturous years under Haqqani captivity.
Certainly. Do they come home first? Do we know about that? Do they go to Landstuhl in Germany for medical treatment? Or can we fill in any of those questions now, Lucas?
It's not immediately clear. It's not immediately clear they're out of the country right now, Bill. We're waiting word from the White House for the official release on the latest details. We expect them to be home soon.
You bet. Lucas Tomlinson worked that story, as I know you will, from the Pentagon today. Sandra.
Bill, more on this now with Michael Waltz, retired Green Beret commander, former counterterrorism advisor to Vice President Cheney, and a Fox News contributor. Thank you for being here, sir. First, your reaction to this news as it is just breaking in the last couple hours here.
Well, Sandra, finally we have some good news to talk about, as you were saying earlier. You know, look, just to build on what Lucas was saying, I strongly suspect that we're going to find out as this unfolds that we found the location of this family through our intelligence networks, and we essentially told the Pakistanis either we're coming to get them and we're going to come cross-border and you're not going to like it, or you guys go get them. Now, remember, they've been held for 5 years now, and I find it hard to believe that the Pakistanis couldn't have found them before now. You know, that said, I think there's also an element, a broader strategic element here of the president's new strategy and him pushing Pakistan. There is a move afoot in Congress to cut off all of their military aid, or at least significantly to dial it back. And I think there was an element of the Pakistanis here responding to that pressure.
The president hinting at this rescue last evening, saying we are being respected again, the United States. And then in his response just now, saying this is a positive moment in our relationship with Pakistan, speaking back to your point about this president's strategy. And clearly he's saying, look, it's working.
Yeah, look, you know, you're seeing folks all over the place try to paint the president as a warmonger, you know, and being, you know, over the top and too verbose. But one thing that he understands, and something the Obama administration never understood, was that people in that part of the world, in the survival mentality and the survival culture, they respect strength. and they respond to strength. And our diplomacy is not effective when you don't have the credible threat of military force sitting behind our diplomats. And I think that's what we're seeing today. You know, the other piece I would just want to build on, though, is that we do still have Americans being held. The American professor, an aid worker, and others being held in Pakistan, we believe, as we speak. And I'm hoping that we'll see a new positive leaf with the Pakistanis being turned with this release.
Meanwhile, we're left wondering what the president's next step is with Iran, with a very important deadline approaching, whether or not he will decertify the Iran deal. Of course, that doesn't mean the end of it. It doesn't mean it gets ripped up. It gets kicked to Congress.
That's right.
But we are left wondering. I want to listen to the president first on Iran.
Worst deal I've ever seen. Whether it's countrywide or any other wide, there is no worse deal. So we will see what happens pretty soon. A lot of people are guessing, but maybe there's not so much guessing. But it was an incompetently drawn deal. Look, it's a very bad deal. I'm not saying anything different tonight that I have been saying for 2 years. Yeah. It's a horrible, horrible embarrassment to our country. And we did it out of weakness when actually we had great strength.
We're left wondering what his next step will be.
Well, you know, in some ways, I think there's almost too much focus on this horrible deal, and it has been a bad deal for the United States. But the broader question is just, what do we do about Iran and this nefarious activities? And what I want to see is a broader Iran strategy. How do we stop their march towards an ICBM? How do we stop their backing of terrorist organizations all over the region? And in fact, we've seen indictments of Hezbollah operatives backed by Iran here in the United States that have been casing critical infrastructure that they could launch attacks against if we ever come to blows. So it's Iran's broader nefarious activities that I want to see checked, and the deal is just part of it.
And the Washington Post out with a report this morning that he threw a fit over the Iran deal, saying that he's forced to stay in it in some capacity, and that his advisors came up with a plan to somehow stay in it while still accommodating the president. All right, Michael Waltz, thanks for joining us this morning.
All right, thanks so much.
We need a tax system that is fair to working families and that encourages companies to stay in America, grow in America, spend in America, and hire in America.
That from last night, the message President Trump and PA pitching that tax plan to an audience of truckers who were very receptive to that message. And now the goal is getting lawmakers to be the same. Our congressional correspondent, Mike Emanuel, getting reaction now on the Hill. Mike, good morning to you. What's the latest on the push in Congress? Where does it stand as of today?
Well, Bill, good morning. This is a critical stage in terms of getting relevant constituencies on board with tax reform. You saw the president talking to truckers up the road in Pennsylvania. Today, you have House Speaker Paul Ryan speaking to a conservative group here in Washington. The bottom line is those behind this tax reform push recognize they need a number of key groups on board with this plan. Ryan talked a short time ago about tax reform empowering those who work hard and play by the rules.
In reality, this plan is really the single most important thing we can do to help the middle class. Lower tax rates, a larger standard deduction, a bigger child tax credit, and a code that is simpler and fair for everyone.
Ryan's also warning an army of lobbyists will come here to try to protect special interests and to derail tax reform. Bill?
Well, what about Democrats? They've got some concerns. What about it slipping past that Christmas deadline, let's say?
Well, that's right. No surprise, Democrats have a different view on tax reform. You're going to have House Democratic leader Nancy Pelosi and the top Democrat on the Ways and Means Committee, Richard Neal, doing an event today. They're going to make the case that eliminating the state and local tax deduction will end up raising taxes on families across America. Here's a sample of Democrat criticism of tax reform so far.
Huge tax cuts for the wealthy. The estate tax. You have to have an estate of over $11 million. 5,000 people will get $250 billion. Incredible. Credits.
As for timing, there has been some concern about this issue slipping. Speaker Ryan says he is not going to allow that to happen.
We're going to keep people here till Christmas if we have to. I mean, I don't care. We got to get this done.
If you allow it to slip to next year, an election year here in Congress, that makes a difficult issue even more complicated. Bill?
Well, he's probably right about getting it done. Now or never. Thank you, Mike. Mike Emanuel live from Capitol Hill on that. Thank you. 10 past. Sandra.
Fox News alert. President Trump set to sign an executive order in the next hour to start unraveling Obamacare.
They'll be able to buy, they'll be able to cross state lines, and they will get great competitive health care, and it will cost the United States nothing.
So what will the order do? His chief economic advisor, Gary Cohn, joining us.
Also, these deadly wildfires out of control in California wine country. 23 people are dead. There are dozens still missing. Why we are told this will get worse before it gets better.
We're going to have great health care, cross state lines. People can buy, it will cost the government nothing. You'll go out. Private insurers are going to give you incredible health care. People say 30%, people say 25%, and some people say it could be 50%. It's going to cover a large percentage of the people.
President Trump moving to roll back Obamacare. He's set to sign an executive order next hour, allowing the sale of lower-cost health plans and competition across state lines. Chris Steyerwalt, Fox News politics editor and editor of the Halftime Report. Always good to see you, sir. This is shaping up to be a pretty busy Thursday.
Well, it's shaping up to be a pretty busy Thursday, and when you put it that way, it all sounded kind of ominous, didn't it? Like we got a lot of stuff rolling down the track. But this is really the point that we're coming to for the administration, for the government in general. They're at the logjam. There's all this stuff that's just they have delayed and delayed and delayed, and it's all backed up. Not all of it's going to make it through. And they've got to start prioritizing in a serious way right now.
So we're waiting to hear, obviously, the details of all of this. And healthcare is going to be a big one because this is part of the very aggressive agenda that has been laid out by this president. But he is able to take a couple victories today. In a big speech on taxes last night, woke up this morning to find out about this rescue of the American being held by the Taliban. That's what I mean by a busy morning. So as we await that executive order on healthcare, Chris.
Well, I mean, how about this? This is great news, or could be potentially great news, for people who are in the individual insurance market that are looking for lower rates. If you're a healthy person in the individual insurance market, what the president's going to do today is going to make it more possible for you to buy a bare bones plan. Basically, they take out regulations applied to the insurance industry nationally under Obamacare, and they say, now you can sell whatever you want, basically. So it may be very good for some people, but it's going to put the Obamacare exchanges with all of those people, millions and millions of people who are there because they're older, they're sicker, they're poorer, they're in need, they're there, their rates are going to go up. Their rates are going to go up because when healthy people leave insurance plans, the people who remain pay more money.
Does this please his critics, Chris?
Nothing pleases his critics. Donald Trump can stop worrying about his critics. He will never please them. We're there. He has to worry about now governing the country in an effective way so that his supporters, he's at low level of support right now, relatively speaking. He's been lower. Other presidents have been lower. But right now, he needs to demonstrate he and his party can effectively govern the country and not bring chaos, disorder, disruption, and pain.
You know, we have been looking at sound from Hillary Clinton responding to Harvey Weinstein, saying, of course, she'll give back her campaign donations to charity. That's what her colleagues are doing, she says. She always donates 10% of her income, she said, which is kind of odd because we're talking about campaign donations. But how do you think she's handling all this, Chris?
I should stop being amazed at how bad at politics Hillary Clinton is. Like, she has a track record as the worst modern politician. It's there, or at least on a large scale. She's lost the Super Bowl twice. And couldn't even get points on the board. And the fact that she remains in the front and center for the Democratic Party, she and her supporters say that she has every right to speak out. Sure, she does. Everybody has a right to speak out. Is it helpful for her party, and is it helpful for her country? I think the answer is pretty plainly no, because as she stands out there in the public eye, things like this Weinstein humiliation, this embarrassment, immediately go right to her. She is walking ordinance for Democrats, and she ought to do them the favor of excusing herself from the stage.
Yeah, and by the way, we were all up watching that speech last night, tax reform. You think it went all right?
Well, it's a good speech, and he is starting to sell something that if he can stay in that space and push this tax legislation, he might not get it by Christmas, but he could get it. It's still there. People like economic stimulus. It's going to be a much harder push than Republicans thought. There's not the groundswell of support they thought they would see, but there's still enough there that he can get this done. He just has to demonstrate that he's got that leadership.
Yeah, and Paul Ryan just saying everybody's sticking around all the way through Christmas if that's what it takes to get this done. Chris Direwalt, good to see you. Thank you.
Have a great day.
They need to put one on the board, don't they? President Trump stepping up his fight with the NFL. Is the president winning this issue over the league? We will debate that from both sides in a moment here.
Plus, shocking new audio in the Las Vegas massacre, raising new questions about the shifting timeline.
We were able to get back to normalcy, which is, you know, just being able to hug and dance and just be normal.
10 LSU fraternity members now face hazing charges in the death of a freshman pledge. 18-year-old Maxwell Groover died at the hospital after fraternity members found him lying on a couch and couldn't tell if he was breathing. Officials say his blood alcohol level was more than 6 times the legal limit. One defense attorney calling for a thorough investigation.
I live in a world of facts. So what we're going to do is we're going to pursue those facts in the criminal justice system because he has been charged with a crime. And if his BAC is in fact that high, then there'll be some questions that come from that. But again, not charged with negligent homicide, charged with hazing.
One member of the fraternity faces an additional charge of negligent homicide.
23 past the hour, and this story out of California, just devastating. A blowtorch of an inferno scorching through Napa and Sonoma counties. Thousands of homes and businesses destroyed, and look at these images. Firefighters warn it's going to get worse. 23 people confirmed dead, hundreds still missing, as one woman searching for her mother shares this alarming phone call.
My mother calls me 3:43 to tell me her house is on fire. And I'm in shock, and I'm telling her to run, get out, just get out of the house. And I'm telling her to go to the front, go to the back. She said, I can't get out. There's fire everywhere, fire outside, fire. I can't get out of my house. And I hear the smoke alarms going off, and she's coughing, and I'm telling her I love her, and she tells me she's gonna die. She can't get out of her house. She's gonna die. And then the phone call drops, and I can't get her back on the phone.
Imagine how quickly those flames came. The mother's remains were later found in the charred ruins of her home. 3,500 homes and businesses destroyed since Sunday. 20,000 forced to evacuate. As of today, 22 large wildfires burning across 9 counties. 1,000 firefighters battling those flames. Will Carr back on scene where the sun has come up on yet another gruesome day there in Santa Rosa, California. And how bad is it where you are? Will?
Well, Bill, it simply looks like a bomb went off in this community. As the fire raced in this direction, many of the residents only had minutes to get out before the fire hit, exploding some cars, flipping them upside down. Others are simply charred. And as you walk up, I want to show you, we're not talking about just 1 or 2 homes. We're talking about this entire community, every single home completely destroyed here. We have live pictures of some of the fires that are racing nearby. As you mentioned, 1,000 firefighters or so on the front lines, some of whom are battling these fires while their homes in these communities burned.
It's one thing to be on the helping side, and then once you're on the receiving side, it's a whole nother set of emotions that I'm not used to, obviously. I'm used to helping people, not having people want to help me.
The deadliest fire in California's history was back in 1933. 29 people died in that fire. As you mentioned, 23 in this fire, but there's still hundreds missing, so that number could still go up, Bill.
What about conditions, be it dry conditions or wind? What are you getting today?
Not good. Another red flag warning day. That's not good for those firefighters on the front line. Also for people not in the fire direction or the fire path. We've had smoke across this entire area. It settles down into the streets. It's hard to breathe. You have ash raining down like snowflakes. It's recommended that people get masks and wear these throughout the course of the day, but many businesses have sold out of the mask, Bill.
It's remarkable. Will Carr there, Santa Rosa, California. Good luck again today. I mean, really just devastating stuff. I mean, look at that live picture that he just showed us. Yeah. It's right out of a movie.
And talking about some of those businesses, the people obviously losing their homes, devastating, and the businesses that, you know, it's going to be so hard to bounce back from this. It'll take quite some time.
True. And you think about that woman describing the phone call with her mom, and if it is true that there are hundreds missing, and if the death toll now is 23, I mean, the mind reels as to how this could ultimately end up. So praying and hoping for the best.
We'll keep watching it. All right, well, President Trump taking health care into his own hands by the use of executive orders. What he plans on doing next.
Also, a disaster with no end in sight. We talked about these California wildfires, hundreds missing, leaving loved ones in anguish.
For the last 2 days, I've just been pulling my hair, just trying to find her. We've checked all the hospitals and we still can't find her.
You have all your love and 17 years of money into the piggy bank, and it just, it's horrible, horrible.
There will be 10:30 in Washington right now. There will be in about 45 minutes a presidential order that will be signed on health care. Happens around 11:15. You'll see it live when it takes place. This is it, though. Expanding access to more affordable options. That's the headline from the White House now. Potentially allowing some employers to join together across state lines and offer greater coverage. The White House believes this will expand choices and alternatives to Obamacare plans, and they believe it'll increase competition to bring down costs for consumers. So in the end, could it save you money? It might. Keep your eye on this. The AHP, that's the Association Health Plan, that's the idea which could potentially allow American employers to form these groups across state lines. This was all debated 8 years ago during Obamacare. It never made it into the law. It's come back time and again, chiefly on behalf of Republican interests. But it has never been signed into law, so today the order will go through with that. Here's the issue. In 2018, more than 1,500 counties, so argues the White House, about 50% of all the counties, are projected to have only one option on their individual insurance exchange. That means, according to the White House, 2.5 million Americans, 30% of exchange participants, will be left without a choice of insurers. So, to help them, to bring down costs, this is the idea, and you'll see it live. 11:15 Eastern Time here on the Fox News Channel.
I watched Colin Kaepernick, and I thought it was terrible. And then it got bigger and bigger and started mushrooming. And frankly, the NFL should have suspended him for one game, and he would have never done it again. He would never have had a problem. But I will tell you, you cannot disrespect our country, our flag, our anthem. You cannot do that.
They like that in Pennsylvania. President Trump taking a bit of a victory lap after the NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell said players should stand for the national anthem. Now, there is more to come on this next week when the owners meet in New York, and a few players will be there, too. So it's not over. Jessica Tarloff, Democratic strategist, Senior Director of Research for Bustle.com and a Fox News contributor. Jessica, how you doing? Good morning to you.
Good morning, Bill. I'm good, thanks.
Alex Conant is a former communications director for Marco Rubio and a partner at Firehouse Strategies. So we will get out the fire hose now. To both of you now, Rich Lowry writes in Politico under the headline, How the NFL Lost to Trump. Donald Trump isn't exactly on a winning streak, he writes, but he's beating the NFL in a rout. Alex, can he declare victory?
Yeah, Rich Lowry is absolutely right, as Rich normally is I should say. Look, I'm a big NFL fan. I never miss my Minnesota Vikings when they play on Sunday. But I am troubled by when I watch players take a knee during the national anthem. The NFL commissioner in his letter to owners yesterday was absolutely right. This is a divisive act when you see players take a knee or otherwise protest during the national anthem. It should be a uniting moment. And I was glad to see the NFL commissioner say it's time for the NFL to move beyond this this controversy. This isn't a national controversy because of anything Donald Trump did or said. It's a national controversy because the players keep acting in a way that is dividing them with their fans. And that's not my opinion. That is the opinion of the NFL commissioner.
Jessica, I know you want the president to move to other issues. And there are a lot of them today. We've been talking about
a lot of people in Puerto Rico who would like that too.
Well, and we've been talking about many different issues for the past 90 minutes, though. But the premise for Lowry's point is that he saw the cultural issue and jumped on it and won as a result.
Yeah, this is the point actually Stephen A. Smith made exactly the same point as Rich Lowry did a couple days ago, where he said the president has successfully co-opted this issue, made it about the protests being about disrespect for the flag and our military and our troops, and he won as a result. Roger Goodell backed down. It obviously took him some time to do this, and no doubt Jerry Jones had something to do with this, with, you know, allowing the protest before the flag came out a couple weeks ago, and now saying everyone has to stand, and I believe the same thing happened in Miami. But I think that this is something that certainly the president can't say that he won on, but I don't think that it's going away as an issue. Before the president got involved, it was only 9 NFL players that were taking a knee, a very small percentage.
Might have been less. I was told 3 at one point.
Oh, well, that's even better for my story. So it was 3.
Confirm it before we go for it. Continue.
Well, 3 to 9. And then it was 200, right, who did it after the president got involved and started attacking people on Twitter and saying, you know, SOBs, which obviously we all know was regrettable language. I'm sure even Alex would agree with that. I
think, here's the next wrinkle to the story will be how the NFL accommodates those who still want to make a statement. And I don't know how that goes. Do they do something before the game? Do they do something after the game? Does it happen on the field? Does it happen during the week? Alex, what's your thought on that?
It's a tough challenge. And, you know, I think Rush Limbaugh had a good point yesterday when on his radio show he said he's uncomfortable with the president of the United States, regardless of party, regardless of whether you agree with him. He's uncomfortable with the president of the United States dictating to a private organization or private individuals how they should behave, as long as they're following the law. So I think that that's an important point. This is not up to President Trump to decide. This is up to the NFL to decide. I think the NFL commissioner is now taking.
Should have nipped it in the bud a year ago.
100% agree. It spiraled way out of control. The NFL is late to recognizing it, but it looks like they're on the case now, and hopefully next week they can figure out some sort of compromise with their players.
But to your point, Alex, where you say, you know, this isn't the president's place to be doing this, and we all recognize that it is a First Amendment right for these players to be taking a knee, or as Colin Kaepernick did the first time he sat during the anthem, ran round 1, and then he spoke to a veteran and said, actually, you should be kneeling.
But your boss doesn't have to tolerate
No, 100%. You can be fired for it. I just think that in this culture where we saw tweets yesterday from the President of the United States of America clearly going after the First Amendment, with NBC should lose their license, which isn't even how it works, that we are in dangerous territory here when the president is weighing in on issues that do not concern him whatsoever. This is a private organization. Let them take care of it. And I think a lot of people would have been okay. They would have talked about it if the 3 to 9 players continued doing that.
Yeah, but he has made this. All that water's out of the bottle now.
It's way out.
Back to Rich Lowry's point. I want to show you 2 quotes here. NFL executives and supporters of the protests instead should have been wondering, what the hell is the end game? He continues, if you're Donald Trump and at 40% or below in the polls, though a 50-50 issue works for you. If you are the NFL and hope to appeal to as broad an audience as possible, a 50-50 issue is a disaster for you. And you can see that reflected in the ratings and how people are responding. Larger question to both of you as political strategists here. Who on the Democratic side can tap into the cultural side of America the way that he has shown on this issue? Alex, go.
Look, the Democratic bench is very, very short. I mean, when you ask that question, the only name that jumps to mind is Joe Biden, somebody with a kind of a blue-collar background, or at least some blue-collar appeal. But there is not a lot of Democrats that speak to NFL fans. That's why Donald Trump won. Certainly not Hillary Clinton or Elizabeth Warren. I mean, they do not speak to NFL fans on any given Sunday.
Yeah, Jessica, can you?
I don't agree necessarily that our bench is as shallow as Alex would say, but I do think that we have difficulty here. Yeah,
touching the cultural button is the question, though.
Totally, and I would agree with Joe Biden there. I think that there are some up-and-comers like a Tim Ryan, the representative who challenged Nancy Pelosi from Ohio. But I do think that we need to go back to what's tried and true here, and that President Obama is just a great speaker. And he is someone that no matter where you fall, we can acknowledge that. No, he's not. Listen, if we could get him back, I would be thrilled. But that's not happening. So Biden,
Jessica,
I guess.
Who's your team?
Oh, I don't have a team, but my boyfriend is a huge Cowboys fan, so I love Dallas.
Do we accept that answer?
No.
Yes, we have to. All right, and good luck to the Cowboys. Good luck to the Vikings.
Thank you. I'm sure he's thrilled to hear it.
And the Nats while we're at it, right?
Oh, yeah, and the Yankees. I want Yankees. Does that count?
Long-suffering Cincinnati Bengal fan right here. Okay? And I'm still watching. Thanks, guys.
Have a great day.
All right, Sandra.
And you're so loyal.
Oh, yeah.
A dramatic new developments. Harvey Weinstein speaking out. What he's saying about the explosive sexual assault allegations against him.
Also, that tax cut plan welcomed by some everyday Americans. We saw it last night, but there is resistance on the Hill. The president's chief economic advisor, Gary Cohn, talks to us live. Next.
We want companies to hire and grow in America, to raise wages for the American workers, and to help rebuild American cities and towns.
Big story here now. Fox News Alert, the story watching all morning, gathering a little more information now. An American mother and her family freed after 5 years of captivity by a Taliban-linked group. Caitlin Coleman, an American, her Canadian husband, Joshua Boyle, kidnapped 5 years ago, 2012. The couple had 3 children while in captivity. She was 7 months pregnant when taken hostage. We do not have a lot of details yet, working at the Pentagon, the State Department, the White House, but U.S. officials saying that Pakistan did help secure their freedom. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson moments ago put out this statement on screen and reads in part here on screen. The United States expresses our deep gratitude to the government of Pakistan and the Pakistani army for their cooperation. President Trump's new South Asia strategy recognizes the important role Pakistan needs to play to bring stability and ultimately peace to the region. The United States is hopeful that Pakistan's actions will further a U.S.-Pakistan relationship marked by growing commitments to counterterrorism operations and stronger ties in all other respects. That is a quote from the Secretary of State. More details as we get them. The group that was holding them, the Haqqani Network, they operate like the mafia in eastern Afghanistan. Ransom is a big deal to them. Getting money is a big deal to them, and they have been a thorn for some time. But this family is now free. We'll let you know when they're coming home exactly. Feet back on soil here on America's Newsroom.
We're going to fight, and we're going to get those Republicans and maybe a few of those Democrats to raise their hand, and you're going to have so much money to spend in this wonderful country and this great economy. That is why we've proposed tax cuts that are pro-growth, pro-jobs, pro-worker, pro-family, and pro-American.
President Trump setting his sights on the largest tax cut in history, taking his pitch directly to the American people. But lawmakers on Capitol Hill, including Republicans, may stand in his way. Joining us now is President Trump's chief economic advisor, Gary Cohn. He's the director of the National Economic Council. Mr. Cohn, thank you for joining us this morning.
Senator, thank you so much for having me.
First of all, how did you think last night went?
I thought last night was great. The president in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, delivered a great speech, really laid out the core principles of what we're trying to do for American families, what tax reform will mean to American working families, and what will it mean to drive the economy, what will it do for wages. And those are really core principles of what we're trying to drive by tax reform.
And that is the key question that most people are wondering. As we watch the president and we listen to you this morning, the average American just wants to know, will they be paying less taxes?
That is our plan. Our plan is to make sure that the average American keeps more of their hard-earned wages. They pay less of to the government, and they keep more of it for themselves.
So you say we're going to pay less under the current plan, but the question becomes, are all Americans going to be paying less under this? There is criticism coming from folks like Rand Paul that the middle and upper middle class will actually see higher taxes as a result of this. Your response to him would be what?
Sandra, as you know, we've given the Congress a broad outline to work with. The president has been very cooperative in saying, look, here's my broad outline. Congress, go write a tax plan that delivers middle-income, hardworking Americans a tax cut. and you go do that. And I'm going to be very supportive of that. And that's exactly what we've done. Secretary Mnuchin and myself have made ourselves available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, to work with Congress to make sure that we can work with them to do exactly what the president has outlined. We're committed to do that, and I'm convinced we can do that.
So are you convinced that all Americans will see some sort of tax cut under this plan? Rand Paul, using the Tax Policy Center study, says that those that earn between $75,000 and $300,000 a year, he says about 30% of the middle class could see a significant tax increase under the current proposal. Is he wrong?
Look, I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about a study that's flawed, but I don't know how you do a study without the facts. That's like telling me who won the game at the end of the first quarter. We haven't put out enough details for someone to put out a study yet.
All right, so the cornerstone of this plan is the drop in the corporate tax rate. That's really key, and I know that is near and dear to your heart. A former Wall Street guy, Goldman Sachs, that corporate tax rate has needed to come down for quite some time. The president started out with a target of 15%.